Hi, this is Coach Shawnee Lavender, and I'm really excited to be here with you today talking about cooperation and the challenges that many parents who identify as conscious or peaceful parents, the challenges that many of them have with creating a culture of cooperation in their family and doing it in a way that is aligned with their values as a conscious, peaceful parent. So that's what I want to be sharing about. I'm going to be talking specifically about three things in this video. And I'm looking down at my notes. So that's why I look down. I don't have a teleprompter. I do, but I don't use it for this. Um, so I want to talk about why conscious parents commonly get tripped up by these, what I may refer to throughout the video as cooperation operations or cooperation scenarios. That's what I'm talking about. So why do conscious parents get tripped up most commonly by these kind of interactions with their children? Second, I'm going to talk about what is really needed to be able to handle these cooperation operations with ease and in a way that works for both parties. Because I know as a conscious parent, that's one of the things you're committed to. It's like, if it's just working for your child, that's not a success. If it's just working for you, that's not a success either. So you're looking for the cliche win-win, and that's what we're going to talk about, what needs to be in place for that to happen. And third, I'm going to talk specifically about a coaching program that I have that is geared to giving parents the tools, the information, and the support that they need to be able to really transform the cooperative culture in their family to one of this win-win culture. So those are the three things I'm going to talk about in this video. So let me get started in just a moment. Before I do that, though, I want to let you all know that if you haven't watched one of my videos before, that I do definitely encourage dialogue, conversation. So if you have something constructive that you want to offer, or you have a question that you want to have some thoughtful response to from me, then please post that. I will periodically check in on Facebook. Some of you will actually be watching this via YouTube later on, so you can ignore those references to Facebook, except that if you want to see these videos live and not simply on YouTube because you're getting them later, and sometimes you might miss an opportunity, and I know you don't want that. So if you want to see these live or closer to real time, then you want to look for me on Facebook. I usually do these on my personal feed. It's just easier the way it's set up. But you can also find me at Shawnee Lavender Coaching in Facebook. And you can find me in my Facebook group called the Conscious Mom Circle. So, excuse me. Try not to cough right in your ear. So that's where you can find these as well. So that's what I want to say. So please feel free to engage in conversation. If you do have questions or comments after this video is live, please also comment then. I am more than happy to come back in a dialogue with you after the fact. So that's the prelim. That's all you need to know right now. Make yourself comfortable, and let's get into this topic of cooperation. So the first thing that I said I wanted to share is, what are the things that commonly trip up conscious parents when it comes to the ideas of cooperation? So this is not going to be all of them, because that would be a long video just with the challenges. I want to share a few that are really prevalent, and also one of them that I think most parents aren't aware of. And so if you have something, a factor that you're not aware of, then what happens is it's not something you can address because you don't even know it's there. So that's one of the things that I find with some of my clients is, they come to me with challenges and they can say, well, there's this factor, there's this factor, there's this factor, and that's great. We can work on those things. However, if there are unconscious factors then they're not addressing those on their own because they don't know they're there. They're unconscious. And if those aren't addressed and they're significant factors, then the problem is not going to resolve either permanently or at that time because there's an unconscious factor or more that's figuring into the equation. So let me get in and tell you what those are, because I know this is really a lot of tension for you and you're now saying, what the heck are these factors? I want to know. So let me tell you what they are. So the first one is that those of us who are striving to be conscious in our parenting with our children, we were raised at a different time with different understandings about human development, about interpersonal relationships, about communication, about things like cooperation and other topics that come up in family life. And even if we had good parents, loving parents, parents who were doing their best, although I believe all parents are doing their best, but even if we had, good parents, not abusive, not bad in any way, that the common methods that most of us had used on us when we were children to get us to cooperate were rewards, punishments, threats. And so that is not in our DNA, but I'm going to call it that. So that's in us. That's in our DNA, so to speak, because it's what we learned. It's the model that we had. It's the model that we most likely saw with the most frequency. Most frequency. So when that's what we grow on in terms of in our growing up in our formative years, then that's what we know. So again, if that's what you grow as a child, that's what you know now as an adult in terms of something that's going to pop out there when you are not in control of yourself and when things get tense, which is those of you that have worked with me, one of the things I love to share is about our brains and how they work or don't work. Depends on how you look at it. When we are under stress, we go lower in our brain functioning, more primitive and less thoughtful, less self-controlled. And so under stress, which parents do sometimes experience on occasion, right? So if I could have an amen, that's why I need this to be interactive. I need an amen or a thumbs up out there. But when we now, in the present day, when we get under stress, then those old methods find it very easy, because that's the well-worn path. It's easy for them to pop out. That's when we hear our parents' voice come out of our own mouth, or we do something that harkens back to our childhood. We're like, oh my gosh, that is exactly what my mom said, or that is exactly what my mom did. The way she grabbed my arm, or the way she, I see my face here, like I'm making these faces. It's exactly the look she got on her face. So those are in us. And so part of the work that there is for us to do is to start to undo that and weed that personal garden. But that's one of the reasons why we get tripped up, even as conscious parents. So we have an intention. We're like, I want to go this direction. And yet, if we have not dealt with what's in here, again, under stress, which is what happens in these kind of situations when our children aren't listening, aren't cooperating, or we have a time pressure, or we're tired, or we're already frustrated, maybe brought home some issues from work, whatever the reason that we feel stressed, when we are stressed, those old things are going to pop out if they haven't been resolved. So let me just I'm going to share with you some words of a parent that she wrote to me, and see if this makes sense to you and if it resonates. The more frustrated I get when my son doesn't listen, the more I find myself using shaming language. Why would you do that? You know better. And we both end up feeling awful. So again, if you were always at your best and you had no stress, then it would be easier for you not to bump into the challenges around cooperation. But the fact is, we do have stress. It's a part of life. Yes, we can work to mitigate that, make that less. However, it's still there. And if we're not dealing with those internal issues, which I encourage you to do, which I do with my clients, then they're there to always be ready to pop up without our wanting them to. So that's the first challenge that really trips up conscious parents. The second challenge is that even as conscious parents who are reading, learning, growing ourselves, we still have some outdated thinking about humans, about human development, about misbehavior. So that is something that when we don't have an accurate map, so we have this outdated thinking, which means we have an inaccurate map, it is very difficult for us to get to the place that we want to go when our map doesn't give us directions for there. It's not even a map of the right territory. So we really need some new understanding, some new thinking about what are the reasons children misbehave? What are the reasons children don't cooperate that are important for them? It's not obstinance. It's not the things we frequently call it. We call it strong will. It's not. We call it obstinance, disobedience. It's not. We call it stubbornness. It's not. Now, I'm not saying there aren't ever elements of those things, but when we find that that is what we think about these situations, again, we are putting ourselves on a road to the destination that we don't want to go with our children. So we need a new map. We need new understanding to inform us as parents. The third thing, and this is the unconscious one that I told you that I would talk about because it's a really important one. So I want to share it. And I'm curious. I'd love to have your feedback, like, oh, yeah, I already knew about that, or, oh, I never thought about that. So if you want to, feel free to give me that feedback. Don't give me feedback about my cough, please. It's going away. It's getting much better. So anyway, I digress. So here's that trip up factor that you may not be aware of, and it is resentment. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is that the unconscious thoughts we have about our children, and it usually crops up in part because as conscious parents, we're really striving to do and do and do for our children. We're very aware in so many ways of, the kind of foods that we want to provide for them, the kind of daily activities, the types of environments. We're really mindful about, like, okay, what are we doing? So a lot of our energy goes into being of service to our children. That's how I broadly classify that. So here we are, we're like, I'm being of service, I'm here, I'm for you. And that's wonderful. That's what I love about being a conscious parent, is we really are attuned and aligned in that way. However, when we do that and we're striving to give our children that, which often is something that we didn't always receive in our childhood. Some of you may have. Many of us, though, may have just gotten bits and pieces. Some of you out there may have gotten very little of that during your own formative years. So when you put all that together, what it can really prime you for is feeling resentful. And what the sort of shorthand way I would think about that is this idea of, I do all this for you. You're not cooperating with me in, this situation, whether it's getting into the car seat willingly, or brushing your teeth without being asked 3 times, or, eating breakfast in a timely manner so we can get out the door to school on time. Whatever it is, the equation is, I do all this for you. You're not doing this for me. And you can see in my face, I'm trying to sort of embody it, right? It's like this seething resentment that is within many of us without us knowing it. And so when we have that alive in us, what it makes very easy to have happen is in those stressful situations. So our child is dragging her feet, not getting ready for school, or is giving us pushback to going to bed or whatever, giving us excuses why they haven't brushed their teeth, whatever they're doing, then it makes it really easy for us to react from that negative place. So now we're pissed off. And so it's easy for us to then raise our voices at our children, say things that are shaming or have shame statements about them, to behave in ways that we don't want to and that we later regret. Sorry. So let me give a couple of concrete examples of this and see again if this resonates with you. So I think the two areas this is whatever really common to have happen are meals and bedtime. So let me give you the why I think these commonly happen at those times. So let's talk about meals. So parents are, as I said earlier, being mindful. What am I feeding my child? What's healthy for them? What do they need to grow? What do they need for their optimal development? And, and we may be managing multiple children. So, this child eats different than this. And so we're doing all this stuff, right? So okay, how can I serve with this food? And so we put ourselves into it, whether it's in cooking it and preparing it, or thoughtfully buying it, or spending money on it. If we're saying it's really important to me that my child has organic, and we spend a lot of money and then our child wastes our organic food. Never happened to me, of course. No. Of course it has, right? I'm a human being, even though I'm a parent coach. It does happen to me. So we have that, right? So we're like, I've served, and then our child doesn't want to eat, or eats a little and then some of the food gets wasted, or they throw it, depending on their age. Maybe they'll throw it, or no, they filled up on something not so healthy, maybe at a friend's house or wherever, at camp or at school. And now they don't eat what we've slaved to make and create. So that to me is one of those prime places, where we're like, I have worked so flippin' hard to give you good food. You should eat it. Right? Sounds familiar, I think, for some of you. So it's like, it's not judging it. It's just saying, of course. So that's where we get tripped up. So that's that resentment, where we work damn hard on this and you better eat it. So if it doesn't resonate with you, good. Tell us your secrets. But that's a real common one I hear from parents. The other one I said, I want to share the bedtime example. So that one to me is, well, I was going to say more common with younger children, but not necessarily. I think with younger children and a stay-at-home parent, here's what that dynamic can sometimes look like is, I have spent the day with you. I've been alone with you all day, or, I didn't get my exercise like I would like to because, my partner's out of town, or I'm a single parent, whatever. Doesn't matter. Again, the why. It's, I have sacrificed. I have really served and served and served, doing my best for you. Now it comes to bedtime and my goodness, I just want you to go to sleep. There's the story in the book, right? The go to F to sleep, right? It's from that place. It's that part of us. It's just like, my goodness, I am only asking for 30 minutes to myself. At the end of the day, please, dear child, go to sleep. So it can be that place of resentment. Again, especially if you've got a young child and you're stay at home with them. If you're not in that situation, maybe, you work all day, you could simply be freaking tired from a full day and you're just wanting some rest, or you're wanting to be able to read something or listen to something or watch something, whatever it is. That may be where your resentment builds, is you're tired and you just want them to go to sleep yesterday. Or if you have an older child, it may not be that you've spent all day with them, but it may simply be that part of, you know what, I am ready for some me time. I'm parenting. I'm shuttling you to school or to activities or homeschool activities. I am working, or I'm working at home to create a certain home environment. Whatever the things are, that's a place, again, that then now we see ourselves reacting out of our resentment of our child not doing what they should do. Okay. So I'm going to pause and see. I know there's been some activity over on Facebook, so let me pause and see what's going on there, see if there's anything to address. So again, those aren't the only factors. However, those are ones that I think are both really common, and I hope with that resentment one, that was one that maybe seemed a little like, let me think about that. Because again, many of us do things unconsciously that we're not aware of, and until we're aware of them, we can't address them. So I hope that's raised some awareness out there, and if it's an issue for you, that you can address it. And if you want help addressing it, call me. So let me talk about the second point now, which was, what do you need as a parent to be able to handle these daily cooperation operations with ease in a way that works for you and your child both? Okay, so it's that win-win. It's not only for them or only for you, it's for both of you. There's two things I want to share here. I go into these in specific detail and more other things that are necessary in my program that I'm going to tell you about at the end, but I want to share these two with you right now. So the first thing that we really need, it's around that map piece that I was just talking to and reading the comment about. We really need a deeper understanding of human development and parent-child relationship dynamics. And the human development piece, one of the things I mean by that is specifically, why do children cooperate? Why don't they cooperate? What gets in the way of their natural ability to cooperate? Because it's not, again, most people want to simply label children, say, oh, they're strong-willed, or they're stubborn, or they're obstinate. No, it's not those things. Or they are, oh, I had one that popped in my head. We'll see if it comes back. So it's like, oh, we want to say, this is it. I want to slap this label on my child and say, that's why they don't cooperate. Really, there are some really important human dynamics at work in terms of autonomy, sovereignty, and some things that if you don't know when you have a young child and you think, oh, they're not cooperating for these reasons, what happens is you actually exacerbate the situation so that later on, as they grow up, it is easier for them and more likely then that they turn not into kids who simply resist once in a while, but then they actively rebel because the way that they were parented thwarted some of their natural development that they need to be a healthy, well-functioning adult. And so it's really, if you've got young kids, learn it now. Learn about these cooperation pieces now, because what happens when you don't, again, you're going to get bogged down in the present because you're not going to have the understanding to be able to really know the bigger picture. You're going to get really bogged down in the present, and you're going to see those old things coming back, the yelling, the threatening, the shaming, the rewarding, the punishing, because that's all you know. And it's like, that seems to work, and it can work, but it has a lot of negative consequences that you don't want. So even if it works, it has a bunch of crap with it that you don't want. So it's like eating stuff with really bad ingredients. It may taste really yummy, but it's killing you. So don't eat it. Okay. So tools and techniques will not fully resolve these situations because you don't have the full context and have all the pieces to really understand, why does this come up at the times it does? It's not just, oh, it comes up at night because my kid's tired. There's other reasons. So you want that fuller picture. You want that context. You want that new accurate map. Throw out the old one, get a new one, so you can really have the material that you need as a parent to come from a different place. Okay. So that's the number one thing you need. And The second thing is you really need to be able to practice and experiment with feedback. So practice and experiment with feedback. So here's what I notice is I have a program, it's a self-paced self-study program that the parents can do around these issues. It's called Taming the Tiger. Really good program, great material. It's material that I use a lot in the other program I'm going to tell you about. However, what I know from my own life and working with hundreds of parents around the world is that we often put ourselves in an environment where we have the education. So we're reading books, we're reading blog posts, we're signing up for things. And so we're like, yay, I'm going to learn this thing. And then what happens? Life, right? And so I have parents who will say, yeah, I bought that thing from you, but I never did it. Yeah, no blame. It's just, it happens. So same thing with if you're simply reading a book, there's lots of great books. I've got the some on my, maybe I can point to it there. That's pretty good. I did pretty well there on my bedside table. Books are great. So education is great. However, what I notice is that most people, here's one of two things usually happens with education when it's not something that they're in a program where there's accountability and they have a reason for showing up and things like that. So one of the common things, especially if you're a recovering perfectionist like I am, is you get a big old, that's not a very big stack of books. I don't know, there might be 8 there. Maybe it is big. You get a big old stack of something, and if you get into it, often what happens is I hear a lot of overwhelm. It's like, I'm just inundated and I'm flooded with this information. It's like, which way do I go? What do I do first? What do I do next? And so we have that sort of deceleration or halt because we're overwhelmed. It's like, it's just too much information. So that happens. The other piece, like I said, of, life intercedes. And so you have all this stuff, but then you don't actually use it. So that's another piece. But if information were enough, what you would find is that you all would not be watching my video. You would not be in my Facebook group. You would not be on my email list because you would say, hey, this is not an issue. This is not something I deal with. I hear this daily, many times a day. Gee, this issue of, getting my child not to hit his baby brother. That's a cooperation situation. So it's not just the getting them to do the brushing the teeth and getting ready for school. It's getting them to be the kind of person, and you being the kind of person where your relationship is one where you listen to each other and you're responsive to each other. So it's all those situations. So again, with just information, you can learn, but most people I know from many years of coaching people is that there is a knowing doing gap. So they may know what to do, doing it is a different thing entirely. So you can know what to do, but without the support and the ability to practice and then get that feedback and see, oh yeah, you have this unconscious thing that's getting in your way, or, oh, did you see this piece? Did you consider this perspective on it? Oh, no, I didn't. That's why I have a coach. I have a coach because I know, despite what I know, that A, there are things I don't know that I don't know, and B, even when I know something, doing it is an entirely different thing. So that's what you need. You need to be able to really be able to implement strategies and tools in this new map. It's like going out on your first camping trip. If you know nothing about camping, you don't know how to read a map, so great. Now you have a new map. Cool. But if you're out there and you're like, I don't know, it's really helpful and sets you up for success to have support so that you're not going solo, which is what most parents are doing. That's one of our main problems as parents right now, is we do it solo. We think it's a solo endeavor. We don't have extended tribes. And sometimes when we do have extended tribes, they're tribes of people who aren't doing it in a way that's the way we want to do it. And so it doesn't help to get feedback from them because it's not aligned with our values. So let me look here and see if there's anything else I wanted to say about this one. Yeah, only what I wrote was about tweaking things. It's really hard, much harder, and sometimes impossible to tweak our own stuff because we can't see our own stuff really well. It's you need that outside objective perspective on your subjective reality. And so that's what I do as a coach, and that's what good programs do, is there is that feedback and support built into them, so you're not, doing it all on your own. Which frankly isn't as fun anyway. So let me pause because I see there were some more folks who hopped on. So let me see if any other comments. Okay, awesome. All right. So the last thing, the third thing I said I was going to talk about today is I have a specific coaching program that deals with these cooperation operations and supports conscious parents to move out of those old places, weed those things out, get a new map, and have that space and support to practice so that they can tweak as they go and not just go, oh, good, I got new info, and then either never implement it in a way that doesn't really work, or not have the perspective to be able to see, this is the piece that needs some tweaking over here, not this piece. So I'm going to tell you about that program a little bit and a special opportunity I have. So the program itself is called the Cooperative Home Coaching Program, and I'm going to refer to it here forward as the Cooperative Home. And it is a training program and a coaching program combined. So by training, what I mean is there is information. So there are video trainings, there are print materials that, as a member of the Cooperative Home, you get access to those. So you're going to walk through a step-by-step process of understanding these human dynamics that are about cooperation and parent-child relationships. You're going to be able to do this in really bite-sized pieces so that you don't get overwhelmed, and so that you have that time to really process this information and really digest it and see, here are the factors. Like, for example, just to give a quick example. So we walk through what are some of the limiting factors that inhibit your child from wanting to cooperate with you. So we look at those limits and we talk about what they are. So one of the things you do as part of this program is if you choose to, if you're, do the work, is that you actually go through and identify which of these factors are alive for my child right now, which are ones that are present in his or her life. And you can do that with each of your children separately. You really get in. So it's not a cookie cutter program. I have broad information. Then though, you take it and apply it to your situation. What does your family look like? What does your daily routine look like? What are the factors that you can tweak that are germane to your family? So it's 8 weeks of that. And the cool thing is, so again, it's bite size. You don't get overwhelmed. It's spread out and it's guided. So you also keep moving. So you don't get bogged down and you don't get lost in the weeds. It's like, here's our process. It's going to be sequential. It's going to build on each other so that you are mastering piece at a time, so that by the time we come to the end of those 2 months, that it's like you have that mastery in you. It's not just knowing, it's you've done it. So you bridge that knowing doing gap and you become masterful at creating cooperative culture in your home. So I'm going to say some more about the program, what it includes. What I want to say right now, for those of you that are like, yeah, I want to do it, is I do have a link in the description, and I'll just read it out loud. And for those of you that aren't, that you're listening to me as you drive because you love to listen to me more than pop music or whatever. It's B as in boy, BIT as in bit, bit.ly / there we go, / CH as in cooperative home -WL as in waitlist -info. So that's where you can find some more details. If you're a visual person like me, I like to be able to look and go, oh, okay, now I see it in front of me. but that link is above or below here as well. But so the program is not open to the public yet, and it's not going to be open to the public until it is open for people who join the waiting list. And that waiting list is the priority notification waiting list. And what that guarantees for you is that when you sign up to be on that wait list, it's no obligation. You don't have to join the program because you may decide it's not a fit for you. That's fine. What you're guaranteed, though, is that you get the earliest access. There's one person already in the program because she won it in a challenge that I had last week. So she's in it, but besides her, you get the earliest access to the program, and you're the only group that gets special pricing. So if you like to get a good deal financially and you want to have the highest likelihood of getting a seat in the program because it's limited, it's a small group. So if you want that chance to have that early access and the special pricing, the only way to get it is to join my waiting list. So that's when you go to that bit.ly/ch-WL-info, then you'll find out about the program, and there's a couple links on that page to join the wait list. So that's what that is. So I'll talk more about that at the end. But let me tell you a little bit more about not my cough. Let me tell you a little bit more about what is included in the cooperative home program so you can see why it's different. Because yeah, you can absolutely go out and read some books. Good for you. That's useful. It's not going to be enough to change over the long term. And I know that because that's my clients. They already have the books, they've done it, but they're still needing that support. So the cooperative home, in addition to all the information and the training that you get, it's also a coaching program. And for me, what that means is that you're going to have support from me, and you're going to get that in two specific ways. Besides the materials, of course. The two specific ways you get coaching from me is we have a closed Facebook group. In that group, it's not my Conscious Mom Circle. It's a group only for paid participants of the cooperative home. You're going to get feedback from me when you post questions, when you say, hey, here's what I implemented this week. Here's how it went. You're going to get feedback from me. You're also going to get feedback from your peers. And these are people that are aligned with similar values. So that's a good thing. So you know that you're not in some random group of any parents. You're in a group of conscious, committed parents who want to help their children be able to cooperate without using threats, bribes, yelling, shaming, all those things. So it's really great because now you're building part of that tribe that you want for yourself. So the other thing about that support is, again, it's the place where you get that support that is crucial to changing. So I hate to break it to you, but by and large, just reading a book, just reading a blog post, and even attempting to implement that, it may change some. Absolutely. I'm not going to lie that you can create change. Most of the people who create lasting change and really fundamental, deep, rooted change are those people who join with others and have that support. Because it's not, if parenting were easy, A, everybody would do it, and B, we would all be a heck of a lot better at it, and our children wouldn't be having the issues, and we wouldn't end up with issues out in our culture that then result, as in part from the way children are parented. I'm not going there. I did that in some other videos. You can look at those as well. But it's that support. It's that piece. So you're not solo trying to do it, and that you really have that hand holding to say, you know what? I just got bogged down in this, or I tried this, Shani, and it didn't work. Well, let's troubleshoot it. Let's see, why might it not have worked? Don't just say it didn't work and throw it out the window. Let's see what's really getting in your way, and let's fix it, because that's what I want. I want you to be successful. I want you to have this home life that is easy and fun for you and your children. So you have that peer and coach support. The other way that you get my support, and this is pretty unusual, most programs, especially this is a pretty low price program in the coaching world, is that most programs that are lower priced, you don't get personal access to a coach. That's just not the way most people do it. It is the way I'm doing it in this program. So you will have one opportunity, and I already have the schedule all set up. And so there are slots that once you sign up for the cooperative home, you go right in and say, this is my time slot. This is when I'm going to show up and I'm going to get my personal coaching support from Shani. And we're going to be on the phone or on a device actually talking. So it won't just be me typing to your Facebook post. It will be me talking to you in real time to address what is your specific situation, what's your specific challenge, what's your specific concern. So it's not cookie cutter. You're not just learning from somebody else's life and their stories. You're learning with me in real time. So that's one of the other really great things. And so that's that FaceTime that you get personal. It's not talking about somebody else. It's talking with you, for you. And together we'll come up with what are next steps, what are solutions, what are new things to experiment with. The final thing that you get if you're on the wait list, only on the wait list, is that I am going to have some fast action bonuses. So I'm going to be opening up that wait list right now. It's probably going to be next week. We're going to see. I'm working on a few little things that I'm looking at, but it's going to be opening soon, and only to the wait list and only to the first people. I mean, it's going to be a handful. It's going to be less than a dozen of these fast action bonuses, which you want because they are about support. They're actually some additional support pieces, some time with me that you get. And you can come on my Conscious Mom Circle. You can see some of the feedback out there about what people said about time they spend with me. So you want to get that too. So sign up for that wait list. And I'm going to tell you that link again after I cough. I'm going to tell you that link. And then I want to give you a few more examples of the types of situations that I'm talking about that we're covering in the cooperative home. So you'll go, let me have a sense of this. So that URL to sign up for the no obligation but very valuable waitlist participation is bit.ly/ch-wl-info. And that gets you to the page with more info about it, and then has the links. So you can't just go there. You then actually have to click on the link to sign up for the waiting list. That's very easy to put in your first name and your email address. And then I'll send you an email. So that's that. So let me give you, actually, before I give you some examples, let me see. I saw some folks posting. Let's see. Thanks, Latrice. I'm glad you're here. All right. So let me read these scenarios to you and see again if you're like, oh, this sounds familiar. So here they are. These are from some different parents. I feel like I'm not saying things in the correct way, so my son doesn't listen or takes forever to comply. One parent. Here's another one. My daughter often drags almost everything out. If I am tired, stressed out, sleep deprived, or pressed for time, I catch myself repeating things, threatening to take away her stuff or privileges, or even yelling. Here's another one. I'm struggling to understand how to communicate clearer with my son. When he does something I ask him not to do and explain why. He says okay and then just does it again. It can be so frustrating, especially because I feel like I'm taking the time to walk him through it instead of giving him the old "because I said so." It's supposed to be a double quote. Anyway, and here's the last one. I have to ask my girls a billion times to do most things, especially things like homework, helping with chores, tidying their rooms, and worst of all, getting ready in time for school and going to bed on time, which basically never happens. And that never, by the way, was in all caps. Never happens. So if those resonate, I'd love to hear. Those are some of the things that parents have come to me before working and saying, these things are just the bane of my existence. And again, they're not enjoying it because, as you can hear in their comments, right, it's a drag. It's a pain in the butt. They're not enjoying it. And often then they react in a way that their children end up not enjoying. So these are things that are really taking away from the quality of family life. And they're saying, it's not worth it, and they don't know what to do. And so that's what the cooperative home was designed for. It was designed for parents who feel challenged by those issues, who really want to build that cooperative spirit in a way that doesn't quash their child's own spirit and their will and autonomy, and in a way that prepares them for the future, so that they do have a understanding of what does it mean to really live in relationship with other people. How do we create a home life that is fulfilling and enjoyable for everybody? So if those are the kinds of things you care about, and you find yourself at times struggling with, again, how do I do this without doing some of those tactics that I hate when I do, but may seem to be the only thing that gets your children's attention, right? I have comments like that where people will say, I use a nice voice, but they don't listen. That's where you need that troubleshooting, right? Because it's not just what you're saying or how you're saying it. There's other pieces of that puzzle that if you don't know, that's why parents then they go, forget it, it doesn't work, because I tried saying nicely or getting down at their level or whatever, and it's not working. Yeah, you may not be working on all the pieces, or you may not be working on the pieces that are applicable most to you and your child, because every situation is different. So that's why it doesn't just help to have more info. You want that support and that troubleshooting. So I think I've explained that enough. If, however, you say either A, you didn't explain it enough, B, I'm not sure if my situation really fits with this program, but I'd like to know. And because I know I really get frustrated, and so I want to do something differently. If you want to do that, I would invite you to post questions on the video, and or send me a message through Facebook Messenger, and say, I would like to set up a time to talk with you over the phone, or for those of you that are in other countries, because I do work with people all over the world, we can set up a time to use Zoom or another technology to connect. And I'd like to learn about your situation so I can give you some honest input and say, yeah, this sounds like it would really fit, and here's why. Or doesn't seem like that's what the issue is, and maybe I have some other suggestions of my own work or someone else's that might be a fit for you. So if you do want to talk to me some more, post a comment, or again, I'm glad to have a personal conversation with you. So let me go over. So that's what I wanted to share today. I wanted to share with you the most common challenges that I see conscious parents facing when they are wanting to help their child cooperate with them in daily activities, but also in respecting other people's boundaries, respecting other people's needs, things like that. I also shared, what do you really need as a parent? What do you need to be able to create a cooperative culture in your home and have family life flow easily and work for your children and you both? So that's the second thing I shared. So if you're just coming into this video late, go back and watch the beginning once I'm done, which I'll be shortly, so you can hear what I've shared there. And then I specifically shared about my cooperative home coaching program and the waiting list that is open now. And those people on the waiting list are not obligated, and yet they will be the first ones to have access to be able to join the cooperative home program. And it's space limited, so they may fill up. I anticipate that I will fill at least 3/4 of the spaces, if not all of them, through that waiting list. So if you're at all interested, sign up. There's no harm, no foul. Definitely sign up. And those people on the waiting list are the only ones that will also get special pricing to join the cooperative home. So if those things sound good to you, like, hey, if I want to solve this issue in my family, I'd like to have those benefits, then please sign up for the waiting list. And again, that link is bit.ly/ch-wl-info, info. It's in the description there. If for some reason you don't find it or whatever, message me on Facebook and I'll send it to you. But again, join that wait list because those are the people getting the first access in probably about the next week or so. So that's it. If you have questions or comments, again, I do welcome productive conversation and polite conversation. So feel free to do that. If you have some parent friends who you think you've seen them struggle with these type of issues, feel free to share this video with them so they can check it out themselves, and or share the link to the Cooperative Home waiting list page so they can read about it and join themselves. My name is Shani Lavender. I am the Conscious Moms Coach. You can find me here on Facebook most Thursdays about the same time. And I also have a YouTube channel, which I know some of you are going to be watching this video on, but you can look me up there, Shani Lavender Coaching. And you can also request to join my Facebook group, which is called the Conscious Moms Circle. So thanks so much. I appreciate your time and wish you a wonderful Thursday, and would love to support you and your family in creating a more cooperative culture that works for everyone. Thanks so much. Have a great day.